Unit 0, Lesson 1, Grade 8 Review, Integers. So today we're going to look at how to add and subtract and then multiply and divide integers. So when you're adding integers, okay, first of all, if you're adding two positive integers together, your final answer is just going to be a bigger positive number. So plus 3 plus 7 is just positive 10. Okay, you don't need to write that positive there. If there's no positive or negative sign, it's assumed that it's positive. Okay, and then an application of that, which might help for you guys to understand this a little better, is if we look at money. If you all have $12 in your pocket, okay, you have positive $12, and then I give you all $5, that's going to be a total of $17 in your pocket. Okay, when you're adding two negative integers, your answer will result in a larger negative number. Think of a number line. If you start at -3 and you add 10 more negative numbers, you're going to go 10 spaces in the negative direction. And you're going to end up at -13. A word equation that goes with this situation is if the temperature outside is -6 degrees and it drops another 7 degrees, you're adding another negative temperature. So then the -6 plus another -7 degrees is going to get you to -13. Okay, so when you're adding two positive integers, you get a larger positive number. When you're adding two negative integers, you get a larger negative number. And that's all summarized for you right here. Okay, let's look at subtracting integers. So when you're subtracting a negative number, okay, you're always going to have two negative signs right beside each other with no number in between. So when this happens, you can simplify that, right? Two negatives become a positive. So when you see two negative signs right beside each other with no number in between the two signs, you can change them both just to one positive sign. So we get 7 plus 12, and that looks a lot easier to simplify than positive 7 minus -12. So our final answer is 19. Okay, when you're subtracting two positive numbers, if the larger number is first, you're going to get a positive answer. If the larger number is second, like right here, you're going to get a negative answer, right? Because you're starting with $6 in your pocket. If you were to take away $18, you don't have $18 to give away, so you end up in the negatives. Okay, so let's start with this first example, positive 18 minus positive 6. So the first number is bigger, so I know my final answer is going to be positive. And then I see that I have a sign beside a sign with no number in between. So I'm going to change a positive and a negative to just a negative. And then I get 18 minus 6, which is 12. Okay, likewise over here. I have two signs beside each other with no number in between, so a negative and a positive makes a negative. So this is really just 6 minus 18. I know that because my first number is smaller, I'm going to have a negative final answer. So the difference between 6 and 18 is 12, so my answer is -12. Okay, pause the video and try the next 6 examples. When you're done, check out your final answers with mine. Okay, check your answers with mine. Hopefully you were able to get each of these final answers. So that's adding and subtracting integers. Let's now look at multiplying and dividing integers. So the first thing you need to be aware of is when you multiply two positive numbers together, your answer is always going to be positive. Because two positives is just a positive. When you multiply or divide two negative numbers together, your answer is going to be positive. And when you multiply or divide a positive number with a negative number, your answer is going to be negative. So the takeaway here is that when you're multiplying or dividing integers, if they're both positive or they're both negative, so if their signs are the same, your answer is always going to be positive. As soon as you're multiplying or dividing two integers with opposite signs, so one's positive and one's negative, your final answer is negative. Okay, so let's try that out. So we have a -2 times -4. And just keep in mind that in high school we don't use an x for multiplication anymore. Whenever you see brackets like this right beside each other, that means multiplication, okay? Because in grade 9 we start to use x as a variable, so we don't want to have x as a variable and x for multiplication because it can get confusing. So this reads -2 times -4. So they're both negative, so we know our answer is going to be positive, right? And then 2 times 4 is 8, so our answer is positive 8. Let's try positive 6 divided by positive 2. So we're dividing two positive numbers, so our final answer is going to be positive. And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, let's try this one. So -8 times positive 3. They have opposite signs. One is negative and one is positive. So by our chart here, we know our final answer is going to be negative. And then 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, positive 12 divided by -3. Positive number divided by a negative number is going to be a negative answer. And then 12 divided by 3 is 4. So you can always figure out what the sign of your answer is going to be first, and then you just have to deal with the numbers. Okay, try these 6 examples on your own, and then go ahead and check your answers with me. So pause the video, give it a go, and then unpause when you're done. Okay, so hopefully those were the answers that you got. So in summary, when you are multiplying and dividing integers, you just need to be careful with the signs. If you're multiplying two positive numbers together, your answer better be positive. Likewise, if you're multiplying or dividing two negative numbers together, your final answer better be positive. If you're multiplying and dividing integers and their signs are different, so you have one that's positive and one that's negative, your final answer better be negative.